observes everything. Okay? Now, you know when you have thoughts, right? You have good and bad thoughts. But you are always observing your thoughts because you can observe your thoughts. You can observe your actions. And because you can observe your thoughts and your actions, we call that observing awareness. So if you're not your thoughts and you're not the actions, right? If you're aware of both, who's doing the observing? Okay, that's another question for another live. But anyway, good morning, Alan. Good morning, Yogi. Good morning, Costas. Good morning, you guys. So yeah. So what's doing this awareness? Where are we connected to, right? Because there is one thought that it's the fifth dimension. There is one thought that we are extensions of the fifth dimension, and it's a much more complex explanation. But for now, we'll talk about awareness, and we'll stick to that. Okay, so it's not the thought themselves, but the observation of it. Okay, thoughts arise in awareness, but awareness itself is clear. Okay, it's open, it's untouched. That open feeling that you have, that ability to observe, okay, is awareness itself. It's pure knowing. Okay, so you know when I say like you have to know, like you know something's gonna happen. Okay, I'm talking about the awareness of it, because thoughts come and go. And unless you attach to them, you don't suffer the consequences, or let's say the emotions of that thought. Okay, so if, for example, if you have a thought, a fearful thought, like, oh, there's going to be war tomorrow or next week or whatever, there's going to be war. Maybe you're fearing war. Maybe there's some kind of, thing that you're afraid of about war, about what that means for you in your particular situation. So now, if that's the case, right, you're going to get the thought first. Then you're going to get an uneasy emotion that follows the thought. Okay, because first we think it, then we feel the emotion. It's almost like there's a second or two delay, right? And this is why I say with awareness, right, you become the observer. So you practice your awareness. Okay, you practice your awareness to be more of the awareness than the thoughts you're thinking, than the emotions that are coming. And now you can detach from the thoughts or emotions. When you can do this, you have more control. So let's say you have drama. Let's say you have something going on at work, and your coworkers are, giving you stress. If you have a situation like that, and you have drama in the workplace, okay, it can be pretty frustrating. But if you allow that drama to suck you in to that reality and hold you to that reality, okay, by thoughts and emotions, it will hold you to that reality, and you will be stuck in that reality. Why? Because it will dominate your day. It will dominate your week. Good morning, Philin. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. It will dominate your week. It will dominate your day, right? Days turn into weeks, turn into months. Okay, so it's these things that you want to be, mindful about. I want to use the term mindful. So mindfulness is just being aware that these things are going on. Being aware that the next thought is coming. Being aware that the next emotion will follow that thought. So you have the ability to choose your thoughts. Your thoughts don't choose you. Your thoughts do not define who you are. You are awareness. You are observing your thoughts. You're observing the emotions that are brought by the thoughts. Okay, now when you learn to control this, it's very easy. It's very easy. It's not easy at first because we've been conditioned. Okay, your subconscious has been conditioned. Your subconscious has been conditioned to respond to thoughts. And when you're doing that, you're living a reactionary life. When you're doing that, you're reacting to the thoughts that you have. You're reacting to the situations that you see in front of you. When you become aware that you don't have to interact with whatever is in front of you. Okay, when you are aware that you do not have to participate in whatever it is that's in front of you, when you don't feel obligated to participate with whatever is in front of you, you become independent of that, and that is awareness. Okay, so awareness isn't personal. It doesn't belong to me or you or anything. It's universal. Awareness just is. And that term that we hear all the time, I am, that refers to your very being, describes awareness. Awareness just is. But it's that one thing that we all share. It's that one thing that we all have in common, that awareness. Yet 8 billion of us on the planet are different. We're different people with the same awareness. Okay, or let's say it another way. We're living in the same awareness. It's a shared field. Okay. Just like many waves rise and fall in the ocean, right? You see the waves come up, go down, right? But it's one ocean. But those are just many waves of it. Okay, awareness has no boundaries. This is not something where you go, okay, this is this much, this is this much. It's not like that. It's infinite. When you start setting up boundaries, so this isn't, while we're mentioning boundaries, while we're on the topic of boundaries, just so you know, because you have that's become a modern buzzword, boundaries. When you work with the spirit, okay, the energy in here, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Don't let it freak you out or anything, but it's the energy in here. But when you're working with that, and when you start to cultivate that, or energize that, or exercise that, what happens is you get grounded in here. You get grounded. Okay, I've been doing this for 37 years with people with amazing results. And what happens when they get grounded is they become more aware. They become more aware of their awareness. Okay, but boundaries, that's saying, okay, I'm going to draw the line here, or I'm going to draw the line here, or here, that kind of thing. If you have to manually, or let's say it another way, if you have to construct boundaries for things, you are not really aware that you are awareness. Okay? Because when you work with the energy in here, okay, the kingdom is in here. Jesus Christ told you the kingdom is within. But when you are working with the energy that is in the kingdom, that is of the kingdom, that is of God, boundaries fall into place automatically. How is that? Why is that? Boundaries fall into place automatically because you don't need to figure it out. It's all figured out for you. And this is why the Christians have an expression. We say, let go and let God. Because God is in here. God is in here. The energy in here, which belongs to awareness. It's all part of awareness, okay? It's part of that energy. And that's what we have in common with each other as human beings. Animals have it too, but they have a different kind of awareness. They have a limited awareness. We have an unlimited awareness. But when we become aware of the fact that we are awareness, in fact, and that everything is connected, then you understand why when you push too much, things don't match up. And then when you relax, right? When you relax, everything falls together. Everything comes together. Why is that? Because God is real. Okay, because these energies line up like that. But you have to be aware of your own awareness. So if you can be aware of thinking the thought, if you can be aware of the feeling that is associated with the thought that you're thinking, and watch the feeling or feel the feeling arrive moments after you think the thought. Okay, you think the thought first, right? Then you get that funny feeling, if it's a bad thought, right? So the question is, who's doing the awareness? Who's aware of it? Who's doing the observing? Who's, right, being aware of it? So always, it's always ideal to become the observer. Yeah, I've had a lot of drama moments in my life, right? But because I can switch to becoming the observer, I can watch it go down in front of me without being pulled into it, okay? Without being pulled into it and feel like I'm obligated to participate in it because it's right here. You're never obligated, but we think we are. So when something happens here, we're tempted to join in. We're tempted to engage. Okay, when you engage, you join. Okay, that means energetically you join. Okay, that means in a conversation you join energetically. That means in action. When you take action upon something that you're observing, now you've joined, like this. If you don't want to be a part of it, you can observe. Okay. So awareness is connection through presence. Okay, this is why deep empathy, love, okay, silence with another person can feel profoundly unifying. Okay, you ever just go on a date and like you're sitting next to the person and you guys are just vibing and it feels good just to sit next to them? It's because of their energy. Like attracts like. Okay, so if their energy is conducive to your energy, you're gonna feel good just sitting next to them, just vibing with them. It doesn't matter, you don't have to talk, you don't have to say anything. Okay, I know tons of girls like this, you know, and I get along with them, so I go out with them. I prefer to go out with them because there's some people I don't vibe with. There's some people that are, you know, there are some people who are not comfortable in their skin. And they seek out here, okay? They seek out here. But when you know who you are, when you know what you are, when you understand awareness, you're comfortable in here. You're at home in here. You're at peace in here. You are love in here. Okay. When that happens, you're not dependent on anything out here, including others, to make you happy. You're not focused on anything out here. You're only focused in the kingdom. The kingdom is within. So letting go and letting God in that context suggests that things will work out. You don't have to push. Things will work out. You just have to be patient. But human beings, right? We feel we need to act. We feel we need to take action on something. We feel we need to participate in an argument. We feel we need to engage. I've been around some pretty heavy, let's call it drama, let's call it, you know, let's call it fighting, let's call it negative action, let's call it all of those things, and not engage. Because you can flip to the observer. Okay, and this is where you draw from consciousness, where you draw from awareness, and you step back into awareness from engaging. Okay, what does that feel like? Imagine yourself a video camera, and you're just the camera, and your eyes are just the camera. You don't have the ability to participate. Imagine that. And now when something happens in front of you, disconnect from it. Do not engage with it. Just switch to the observer. Pretend you're a video camera filming. And all you are is a camera. That's all you have the ability to do. And try and look at it now. And you'll see that you don't have to be the participant. You can be the observer. Okay? It's a very powerful skill to have. And you can shut off the emotion. Because frequency, like attracts like, right? So at the emotional level, you may be prompted to enter into an action with something that is going on in front of you. But if you can resist that initial temptation to join in, to jump in, and then you become the observer, then things turn out quite differently. Now you're observing what's going on in front of you. So how do you focus on awareness to have a better life? Well, first, like I said, you pause. An intentional pause. Be mindful of the fact that you do not have to participate. It's not ignoring something. It's stepping back and observing something. You know, there's a lot of times where people want to tell me things. They want to gossip, or they want to, you know, I used to work in an environment like that. They used to talk about everything and everyone, right? I used to have my laptop in front of me at work. And I used to go in the laptop. And that's how I did it at first, right? Because I changed my focus. So they'd be out here and they'd be talking, and I would go in my laptop and focus on something. It doesn't matter what. It could be a picture, it could be anything. So that focus would increase a little. That in itself will tune out what's going on around you. Now, if you haven't tried this before, it sounds crazy. If you haven't done this before, it goes, well, what is he talking about, right? Okay. But you have to distract yourself away from whatever it is you don't want to engage with. That's the first step. Distract yourself out of whatever that is. Thank you, Costas. Thank you. Hi, Cooper. Good morning. Aloha from Hawaii. So you have to distract yourself away from whatever it is that you don't want to engage with first. Okay? So pause and notice. Take a few seconds. Okay? Now, during that time, ask yourself, am I aware? Am I aware of this? Remember, I think it was last week, we talked about the subconscious, questioning the subconscious and how your subconscious will give you answers. Question your subconscious. Am I aware of this? Am I aware? Okay. Now, that question itself will point you back to awareness. Now, take notice of this as well. When you speak, when you think, you're also observing those things. You're observing your thoughts. You're observing yourself speak. So you are aware. Okay. People who are distracted into something don't have the ability in the moment to distinguish between observation and participation, because they get sucked right into it. They can't help it. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's like a gut reaction, and they get pulled right into it. This is emotional conditioning. Okay, they have been conditioned through their subconscious. They have been conditioned into reacting. Now, how does this work well for you? How does this benefit you? Well, it benefits you because if you don't want to participate in something, you just switch to eyes and observe. Allow it to play out in front of you. Okay, so we always talk about the laws of power. The laws of power. You have two people playing tennis, okay? This is the law of power. And you'd be surprised how many people get this wrong. There's two people playing tennis. I'm gonna hold this finger up higher as the server, okay? Here's the here's the scenario. This person serves, the ball goes over the net, goes into the court, scores a point, goes out of the court. This person just stands there. Who holds the power? You'd be surprised how many people tell me this one, the one that served because they scored a point. Isn't that how people are when they argue, right? Or when they have a fight, or when they're trying to get one up on somebody, right? They think they have the power. But this one just stayed still. This one just observed. So the point was scored. Okay, so there's a point, but there is no game. There is no game. Why? Because it takes two to have a game. It takes two sides to interact. So who holds the power? This one. Why? Because he or she, either way, okay, he or she determined the outcome of the game by just standing there and observing. They dissolved the game. There is no game. So this person was participating alone. Now, if this one felt obligated and hit the ball or missed the ball or whatever, and now it's a new serve, or now it's you see, then there's a game. But this person had the ability to dissolve the game on the spot by not reacting. What does that tell you? That tells you in order to hold the power, you have to be the observer. Power is only good when you retain it, not when you use it. When you use your power, you lose your power, and then you're depending on that power coming back to you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let me give you another scenario. Okay, something that you'll understand a little bit easier maybe. Luke, good morning. Good morning, Kenna. You know when you're texting a girl, maybe, like you're in a relationship, you're having a fight and you're texting? You ever do that one text and then you don't get a return text? And then you feel empty inside? You ever feel that? Right? You have the last word, right? And you text that sentence or whatever it is, blah, 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 boom, send. Now you don't hear back. You know that empty feeling you have in here? That empty feeling? Why? Why is that? Why does that happen? It's because your energy was tied to the text and you sent it out. You had the power because that person had texted you, so you have the power. In other words, the ball is in your court. Now you have the power, and then you use the power. Now you've lost the power. That creates the vacuum. Okay, now you feel it. You feel the emptiness. There's a little emptiness in here. Now you have to wait for that person to text you back. When that text comes back, now you have the power again. If that text never comes back, there's always an empty space concerning that interaction. And these are the rules of engagement. These are the rules of power. I'm talking about energy. I'm not talking about conquering somebody. I'm talking about energetically. When you use your power, you lose your power. So power is only good, right, when you retain it. Therefore, when you observe instead of engage, you preserve your power. So how do you focus on awareness for a better life? Awareness is always present. Okay? But because we get hijacked by thoughts, right, we get pulled out of awareness and into our thoughts. What happens after you think the thought? The emotion follows. Now you're into your emotions. Okay, thoughts and emotions. First you get the thought brings the feeling concerning the thought. So if the thought was bad, you get a bad feeling. If the thought was good, you get a pleasant feeling. But when you have the ability through awareness to choose your thoughts that you attach to, the feelings will be more consistent depending on what you choose. And you can choose bad thoughts. There's no judgment. There's no judgment with this. It's not about, oh, you choose bad thoughts, so you're a bad person or you're wrong. No, there's nothing. There's no judgment. It is what it is. But when you do this, you are choosing for yourself. Okay, we always hear that expression, God will punish you. God will punish you. God never punishes, ever. God is 100% pure love. God is love. We punish. We punish. How do we punish? Through our subconscious. The subconscious is the book of life. The subconscious records everything. Our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our actions, everything we do. It records everything. This is why people get complexes. Okay, because they do stuff, right? And then the feeling comes after they do it, right? You know, when you do a good thing, you know how you feel when you give somebody money, or you see a street person, or you give them money or something, or you give something to somebody that you're not using anymore, you give it to a friend. You know that feeling you get, that good feeling you get? You have the power to feel like that all the time. You have the power to feel like that every day. So there's no judgment involved. Now, when you do something bad, right? We all do bad stuff, right? We all make bad choices. You're guilty, okay? All of us. I'm not sitting here saying these things because I'm holier than thou. No. I'm human. Make no mistake. I'm just trying to have you think about this. But when you choose something good, you feel good. When you choose something bad, you feel bad. And it's temporary, right? And it goes. And eventually you let it go. Why? Because most of the time you think another thought and attach to a different emotion. Now you're over here with this. So the other one that you did earlier this morning is gone. Now you're with this one, right? Now, if you do this in repetition, okay, let's say you have more good thoughts in the day than bad thoughts, and let's say you have more good emotions as a result of those thoughts than bad, you're going to feel good. What happens to that small percentage of bad thoughts? What happens to that? It gets stored in your subconscious. What is the result of some of those? Well, sometimes you develop complexes. Sometimes you develop an attitude towards something. There's no such thing as a negative emotion that arises out of a negative thought and it doesn't affect you. There's no such thing. This is why when you see people suffering from low self-esteem, low self-confidence, they're not confident in themselves. Why? Well, because they have this track record over here in their subconscious. And this track record was all the negative thoughts they thought, and all the negative emotions they felt, and all of the negative actions that transpired as a result of negative thought, because thoughts become things. And now they have a complex. Now they don't feel so good about this one. Now they feel a certain way about this one concerning certain things. Not everything, certain things. But when that happens, what's the remedy? Well, if you look at the 50 percentile, this is positive, this is negative. Okay. Let's say, for example, the negative got out of control and now it's over here at 55%. Now the majority of their life is negative, 55%. All you have to do is push this back over here, and then this is 50%. Now push it across the line. Now this is 51%. That's a start. Now push it 52, 3, 4, 5, like that. Now you have 55% positive. Now the majority of their life is positive at 55% because it outnumbers this over here, the negative. What's unrealistic is if you say, well, I'm going to be 90% positive. This is a big job right here, okay? It's a huge job. As human beings, we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We say things that we shouldn't say, which gives us a feeling. Okay, first we think it, then we speak it, then we get the feeling. Or sometimes we think it, then we get the feeling, then we speak it. But action always follows thought. Thoughts become things. Then we get our result. That's the judgment. That's the judgment we have pronounced upon ourselves. God doesn't punish. God is love. Love is incapable of punishing. That does not punish. So anything that is of negativity cannot be of God. It has to be of something else. So we have labels that we put on negative and positive energy. We say, okay, this one's good. Okay, God. This one's evil. Okay, devil. There we go. Okay. The problem is people start blaming the devil for the evil thoughts that they think and act upon, which end up in negative results, which end up in low self-esteem, which end up in consequences, negative consequences. Now, the word consequences is not a negative word. It's just the result of actions. So when you commit a bad action, you get a bad result. So the subconscious tree down here, you have your subconscious core beliefs, okay, which form your paradigm, the trunk of the tree. Now the trunk of the tree represents your paradigm, your attitude towards things, the way you see the world, the way you deal with people, your attitude towards things, even new things that you haven't even placed judgment on yet. You haven't even figured it out yet, but you're acting in such a way to it. This is your paradigm. Now up here, the fruits of the tree, those are your actions. When you commit an action, you will get a result. Can you change your actions to get something temporarily? Yeah, of course. You can always commit a good action, get a good result, always. But unless you fix the roots of the tree, unless you fix the subconscious beliefs, you will have temporary good results, and then everything will go back to the subconscious. The old way of doing things. Okay, up until you're 7 years old, you're not even a part of consciousness. So everything you've learned until 7 becomes your first initial paradigm. And many of those programs, many of that understanding of things is what you get pulled back to. And this depends on everything. Your subconscious is a culmination of all of your senses. Everything you observed till you were 7 years old. Everything you were a part of till you were 7 years old. Were you a part of your parents' drama? Did they have drama? Whatever that was, you were a part of that. It shaped your belief of the world. It became your first paradigm. What happens then? Can you change it? Yeah, you can change it. You can't change all of it. You can change a considerable percentage of it, enough to change your life. How do you do that? affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It's not as difficult as you think. Affirmations, okay? Let me get my pen. Affirmations. I am so happy and grateful now that I am confident. Thank you. Why confidence? Confidence is at the core of my training. Confidence gets taught first. First and foremost. Why? It's not because of what you think. Normally, when I say that to people, what they think is, okay, I'm going to be this big, tough person, and I'm going to, like that with big muscles, and I'm going to go to the gym and be confident. Really? Go to the gym and be confident. I know so many guys that went to the gym and they look confident. They have big muscles, right? It's a good show. But they have this little 5'2" Asian girl that has complete control of them emotionally. Is that inner strength? No, not at all. Out here, things may appear to be different than in here. When you work on the strength in here, when you teach someone inner confidence, confidence in here, in your energy, that is developed by exercising this energy, then you have inner confidence. Then you can deal with things like that. Then you can become the observer. So today we're talking about awareness. Then you can get into your awareness and allow your awareness to work for you. Anybody can act the part. Anybody can pretend or have exterior confidence. I'm talking about interior confidence, inner confidence. It's very different. A lot of people tell me, oh no, I'm confident, Uncle. Until I get them in the training. And then everything exposes itself. But it's all good, right? Because it's for a good purpose. It's not to make fun of anybody. It's not to make light of anybody or put anybody down. It's to build them up inside. But the kingdom is here. The kingdom is in here. Jesus Christ said, right? Look high, look low, right? But the kingdom is within. It's not up there. It's not down there. It's in here. It's in here. You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that energy that lives in here. This is just something you use to get around this body. And there is a separation between the body and the spirit. You cannot kill the spirit. You cannot extinguish energy. The spirit can leave the body, but you can't kill the spirit. You can kill the body. And the spirit supersedes the body all day long. It has authority over the body. How do you know this? Because you can just think a thought and your fingers move like this. You can move your fingers just like that. You can think the thought. Oh, what do you use these for? Well, you use these to feed yourself. I use it to play the guitar sometimes. I use it to write my affirmations, right? Okay. But when you come from this deeper understanding of awareness, life changes. Because you attract what you are or who you are from in here into your life. The universal law of correspondence, right? It says, whatever we are in here will be reflected out here. You ever see somebody who's a mess out here? Their desk is messy. Their desk is, unorderly. Maybe their car. Maybe you get in their car, they got rubbish all over the place. The car is all in disarray. Because they're in disarray in here. It's just a reflection of what's going on inside. So if there's turbulence out here, if there's problems out here, and I'm talking about your immediate vicinity, if there's drama out here, guess what? There's drama in here. And when you solve the drama in here, in this one, all of this goes away. All of this gets solved. How do you do that? Affirmations, meditation, focalization, visualization, all day long. When you return to awareness, or when you develop the switch, I call it the switch, and the switch is you flip the switch and now you're the observer. You flip the switch and now you're disconnected from the conversation. You become the observer. Somebody's going off emotionally in front of you. Flip the switch. Now you're observing. Now you're just standing there observing. You're not participating. You're not taking sides. You're not judging. You're not saying this is like this is like that, this is bad, this is good, this is this way, that way. No. You're just observing. You're neutral. And now you're not engaging. Now you're just observing. You're not a part of it. So whatever energy is involved, whether it's, a bad thing, negative energy, or whether it's just unorganized energy, whether it's just chaos or actually something bad, you have not joined with it. You are not a part of it. You are observing it. You're independent of it. Does it affect you? No. Not at all. Okay, first of all, pause and observe. And you have to notice when something is going on that you don't want to be a part of. Okay, before you get sucked into it, because 9 times out of 10, when you get sucked into something, you're obligated to finish it out. You're obligated to keep going. When you jump in an argument, you're obligated almost, right? And then pretty soon you feel you have to back yourself up, and then it just kind of goes on and on. Okay, but pause and understand that. Okay, I'm going to switch to awareness. I'm going to observe. I'm not going to participate. Okay, you observe your thoughts and you don't fight them. Instead of pushing away negative thoughts, right? You get a bunch of negative thoughts, right? Instead of doing that, just observe them and let them pass. So the thought comes, you observe the thought, okay, this is that, all right, I'm going to let it go. Okay? Because the emotion follows. And when you engage with the thought itself, okay, if it's a good thought, you get a good emotion, you feel good. If it's a bad thought, you'll have a bad emotion. You'll feel bad. Good morning, Havana. Thank you, you guys. Okay, but you'll feel bad. If you are the observer, if you're coming from awareness, there is no good and bad. There is no judgment. There is no engagement. There is just observation. That's all there is. Okay? So use your senses. Okay, listen deeply to sounds. Feel your breath. Watch, observe your surroundings. Be mindful of what's around you. Every sense that you have, right? Your subconscious. Every element of your subconscious, your senses, okay, will ground you in the present moment. It will help you to be present. When you observe what you're looking at, it will ground you. When you think about what it is you're actually hearing, instead of focusing on the emotional byproduct of it, think about that. What am I talking about? Well, you hear the words going on, right? If there's an argument, you hear the words going on. When you engage, you will experience the emotions. Now you're emotionally involved. That obligates you to finish it out. Sometimes, right? You can quit. You can say, oh, the heck with it, and walk away. You can do that. But why let it get to that point? I don't even have drama in my life. I have things that go wrong and things that are challenges, but not drama. There's a difference. There's a difference. If you have things that are going wrong in your life, that's one thing. You need to fix it. If you have challenges, that's one thing. You need to fix it. Drama. If you start noticing too much drama in your life, guess what? There's a pattern, and that pattern needs to be broken. Where does it need to be broken? In your subconscious. Why? Because your subconscious is memorizing drama. Okay. The subconscious learns in repetition. Okay. You ever see those people that they're always involved in drama, right? And then they go to therapy, and then they're expressing all this stuff in therapy, and then it comes back again, and then they make progress. But at the end of the week, they're back in therapy, right? And then they're bringing it all back again. It's the merry-go-round or the mouse wheel, depending on how you look at it. But it's subconscious. So your subconscious is training you for drama. Remember yesterday we were talking about the beliefs in the subconscious? When your subconscious believes that, okay, I suffer drama, when it believes that, it will show you more instances of it. It's obligated in that point, at that point, to show you more drama. Oh, look over there. There's drama over there. Right? Your reticular activating system in your brainstem is designed in such a way that it will filter out everything you're not focused on. So if you're focused on drama, guess what happens to your subconscious? It gets fed more drama. In turn, it looks for more drama. Now you're in a drama loop. Or let's say a problem loop. Now you're suffering problems. How did it start? It started with a thought. The thought brings the emotion. Now you experience the emotion, right? Intention, whenever you marry intention with emotion, you get manifestation. Because when you add emotion to it, now it cements it in the subconscious. Now it becomes a subconscious program. Then the subconscious says, okay, I'm going to look for more drama. So what do? Do you control these thoughts? No. You don't control your thoughts. If you control your thoughts, you engage with them. If you engage with them, you get more of it. You observe your thoughts and you allow them to pass without engagement, without doing this. Control means I'm going to get a hold of this thing and I'm going to change it. The minute you touch it, the minute you touch your thoughts, you move from observation to participation. When you participate, you become one with it. Okay. Which is just like, people that are trying to get out of debt, right? They're focused on eliminating debt. And what happens? They get more debt. Why? Because the topic is debt. Because their focus is debt. It doesn't matter whether you're eliminating it or getting into it. The topic is debt. So what does that create? It creates more debt. The same thing with self-discipline. Self-discipline, right? I'm going to control things. I'm going to discipline, right? So I don't even use the word. Because it makes others uneasy. When you start talking discipline with somebody, like they kind of like shy away from it, right? But it's consistency. That's really what it is. So remember, right? Any intention or thought that you add with emotion goes directly into your subconscious. That's how manifestation is done. It imprints your subconscious. So use your senses to ground you in the moment. You can listen to what it is that's being said without being drawn into it. but be consciously aware of it and become the observer and stay the observer. And now you're observing, you're on the outside looking in. You're not an active participant inside. Meditative stillness. This is that 10 minutes a day I talk about. 10 minutes a day, be still. Why is this important? Because you need to let everything come and go without resistance. Carl Jung said, whatever you resist persists. So when you're trying to control your thoughts and you say, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. What is the topic? That. So you're saying, I don't want that. You're identifying what it is. I don't want that. What do you get more of? That. Whatever that is. Instead, what do? Observe. There's no resistance in observing. Let's say it another way. You're in neutral. You ever put your car in neutral? Do you have control over your car in neutral? Yeah, maybe you could put the brake on, right? But when you're in neutral, you're not passing judgment. You're not attempting to control it. You're not attempting to win over it. You're not projecting your influence upon it. What are you doing? You're just observing. Okay, well, see where it goes. See what it does. You're just observing. You have not joined with it. You're independent of it. That gives you empowerment. That empowers you. That's like those tennis players I was talking about earlier. This one serves the ball in, scores a point. This one doesn't move. This one controls the game. Why? Because it didn't interact. There is no engagement. If there's no engagement, there's no game. If there's no participation, there's no game. If there is only observation, there is no game. But once you choose something, now there's interaction. When there's interaction, there will be an outcome. There is no outcome with observation. You only observe, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. So you have to shift from doing to being. That's what observation is. Observation is not having an opinion. Do you have an opinion about something you're observing? Now you have shifted from observing to taking a side. Now you have joined with it. You have joined either for or against it. If you're just observing it, you're okay, this is that. Allow it to pass. So when you shift from doing to being, you're just observing. You're not choosing. You're not saying, okay, this is wrong, that's good, this is bad, that's okay, this is not okay. Okay? None of that applies. None at all. And instead of constantly striving, allow yourself moments of simply being aware. Just be aware of it. Oh, there it is. There it goes. Oops, there it is. There it goes. Think of thoughts like clouds in the sky. You see the clouds. You're observing the clouds. They're moving through the sky, right? Here they go. Here they go. Gone. Okay. But you observe the whole thing from the beginning to the very end. There is always an end. There is always a beginning. When you perpetuate something, it's when you engage with it. When you engage with it, you give life to it. When you engage with it, you give power to it. You enable it. You give it more life. You give it more power. You give it more strength. Why? Because you have applied focus to it. Energy flows where attention goes. I just did a podcast on that last week. If you're looking for the podcast, it's the Kekuewa Jr show. It's on Apple. It's on all podcast networks, Spotify, all over the place. So how do I avoid drama personally? I don't engage. If somebody asks me for an opinion, I'll give an opinion. But if something is in real time in front of me that I don't feel that's in my best interest, I will not engage. I will not judge. I will not take sides. I will not choose. I will allow it to pass. And in that allowance, I am giving it freedom to go. Because if you're not allowing it the freedom to leave, now you're saying, oh no, stay. I'm gonna judge you, stay. This is like that, this is like this. And now you become a part of it. Now you engage with it. Now you give power to it. Now you grow it. Now it's bigger. Why? Because instead of that one participant, now there's two. Now there's you. And you jumped in, and now there's two. And now it's bigger. So in awareness, we observe. In awareness, it is what it is. It is as it is. And we allow it to pass. And we allow it to be. And in that process, we preserve this one. The kingdom is within. If you're going to protect the kingdom, all you have to do is not allow the rubbish in here. If you're going to empower the kingdom, go within, close your distractors. Okay? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. If you apply those 4 pillars to any one thing, it cannot not happen. Traveling. So I will be off island just for a day. I think tomorrow we're only going to be on one network. It's that one over there. So we have cameras all over the place. But yeah, so we won't see you guys over here. We won't see you guys tomorrow. Okay? I don't mention the names because the algorithms kind of block us off when we mention other companies' names. But we will see you guys on Monday. Okay? So we'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you for being here. And then on our international feed, we want to say love and aloha from Hawaii. And thank you for joining.